Man's best friend is his mother, but not in Vietnam. Just let me tell you, brother, I'm alive and here's why I am. 'Cause I've got one son of a gun. You see this AR-15, she's hard and she's mean, and she ain't built for love or fun. And yet this AR-15 is a part of my team, 'cause she's one son of a gun. They may shoot away my green beret, clip my silver wings, even make me lose my pay, and lots of other things, but leave my AR-15. To me, she's a queen, she's the best gal I've ever won, 'cause she's what stands between me and the enemy DC. Yes, she's one son of a gun.
You see this AR-15, she's hard and she's mean, and she ain't built for love or fun.
And yet this AR-15 is a part of my team, 'cause she's one son of a gun. They may shoot away my green beret, clip my silver wings, even make me lose my pay, and lots of other things, but leave my AR-15. To me, she's a queen, she's the best gal I've ever won, 'cause she's what stands between me and the enemy DC.
Yeah,
yes, she's
pretty fun
one
though.
son of a gun. Yes, she's one son of a gun.
Set up. All right, and now we've talked about the Westrom and the AK platform. Today, I just want to kind of give a little love to the AR-15. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a clone of an M4A1 rifle. That's a surplus M4A1 upper, and yes, I just got this little thing on here just as a kind of just something to represent a pec for the weight, because I like to have this for my. This is set up pretty much similar to what I would practice with to qualify on. And some fun facts are like this grip on here. The videos you're going to see and the pictures that I'll show of while I was on deployment, this is my old grip I had, and I still got the batteries for my nods, my spare batteries for my nods in there. And yeah, this magazine right here is the one I picked up in Syria. Troubleshooting ACOG right there, old surplus ACOG. Maytech rear sight. This is set up just like the M4A1 that I had while I was deployed, minus the Magpul buttstock, but I just like it a little better. So another thing we got going for us today is, if you will look back there, we've got some rifle targets set up. We went and bought them from Walmart. We'll see how well they handled being rung with a 5.56. So we got 100 right here in front of us. We got 150 off to the left, and then we got 250 off there in the distance. And we'll see what I can hit offhand with this little rifle right here. I'm pretty sure I can hit that 100 pretty easily, and then, yeah, that one, we'll just see. We'll just see. I'm shooting what you're probably not supposed to shoot out of this rifle, which is 55 grain. What these are? Oh, these are Black Hills 55 grain bullets. And like I said, this is a M4A1 upper, so all of you guys who know, this is a 14.5-inch barrel, which would technically be considered an SBR, but because I have a pinned and welded flash hider on this thing, it's perfectly legal. So, enough of me talking. I'm going to do some shooting, and then we'll talk about the history of the AR-15, the M4 carbine. Get my ear pro on here. I think I'll try for that, see how bad I am, try for that that closer range one first. let's try for 150. Think I had a dud there. Getting time to cook. Yeah, we had a good primer strike. Let's try that again. Yep, I pulled that one. I'll call it on that for now. I'm gonna go for this long range one here. Get that wire out of my hair. But I'm gonna go to the prone for that because that's a little bit far for the kneeling. Yeah, and I'm a right in the middle. A little high, okay. Okay. Taking these things off. They're all sweated up. Well, that is interesting. It's very interesting. That's my second. I'm getting primer strikes on them. Let's try this again. Over the top. Oh yeah, it's 250, not 300. I'm retarded. I'm gonna pause this for a second. I'm gonna get to somewhere where it's a little more level. I'm laying on a downhill slope. Let's go for some closer range one. We're going for the 100. All right. So this, like I said, my AR-15. This is a cold upper, and I got my Knight's Armament quad rail on there with a, I can't remember who makes the selector here, but ambidextrous, just like on a real M4A1. And yeah, I mean that's about all there is to it. It's cold upper. It's built on, now the lower it's got on it now is a DPMS Panther lower. I know that's probably a sin to put on a Colt upper. However, I've got an 80% here. I'm going to eventually, I've already engraved it. And yes, it's perfectly legal to do this. I'm going to make a Colt M4 A1 clone with this lower. I will do that eventually. The story of the Colt M4 carbine begins in the, well, shall we say in the 1960s with the development of the M16. The M16 served through Vietnam, Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm, Iraq, it's serving clear to this day now. Even with the Marine Corps still using the M16A4. The idea for the M4 carbine came along whenever it was in Vietnam. A lot of the SOCOM guys were running around and they decided they needed something a little better than a big old long M16. And so a program was put together and they came out with what was known as the Colt Commando. And it was just a really shortened down little M16. And they seemed to like that quite a lot. And I think, I may be wrong, I think it had an 11.5 inch barrel on it. And that was what they used for a long time. Fast forward a little further into the 90s, and you've got special operations units like the Rangers, Delta Force, you know, those kinds of guys. They're looking for a little short little rifle, a little shorter than the M16, and there's a bunch of them that they're putting out, like what was it? I'm not even going to try to say the names right now. I'll have to look them up. I'll put them in a little subtitle on the bottom. But there were several different models that came along, and some of them were just people taking M4 uppers or shortened uppers, putting them on M16 lowers, and it wasn't working very well with the M16 buffer system. So around in the 90s, the U.S. government decided it would be a good idea to make an all-purpose M16 carbine. And Colt won the contract for that, and they developed the M4 carbine. Now, this was originally designed with the same intent as the M1 carbine. It was designed for cooks, artillery, truck drivers, tank drivers, people like that who couldn't carry around a big M16. This is where things get kind of funny. The Special Forces units really started to pay attention to this, and they started looking into it, and they figured out, you know what? That short little carbine is pretty handy. Let's start adopting some of that. And so they started bringing them into the special operations units in the early 90s. And like the old Black Hawk Down incident, well, most of them Rangers were carrying M4 carbines. You look into, you know, some of Desert Storm, stuff like that, a lot of them were carrying M4 carbines. Now, fast forward a little further, the infantry decides, you know what? We need shorter rifles so we can carry more gear on our back. And so this is the first time this ever happened in history that I can think of. The infantry switched with the non-infantry. That's why I thought it was funny whenever I went through basic training, we were all carrying M4 carbines, and everybody else, at Fort Benning, all the tankers and the scouts, they're all carrying M16 AA2s and A3s, which was kind of weird. But then you realize that as an infantryman, when you're clearing buildings, shorter is better, and they found out that 14.5 inch barrel was about where they wanted to go. So that was kind of the story of the M4 carbine. Now, they developed it a little further. Let me talk a little bit about how the M4A1 came along. The M4A1 came around in, it would have been around the late 2000 up into 2010 time frame. Like I said, I'll put it in the subtitles. What the changes they made on it was the barrel. Now, the story was that, I can't remember which Special Forces group it was, but a Special Forces group was doing a training exercise on a CAS evac, which is evacuating your casualties. And what they would do is, they aren't carrying around saws or, you know, squad automatic weapons, 240s, machine guns like that. What they were doing is they were taking their M4 carbines, which had a 3-round select fire burst, which was not necessarily a good thing, and they were converting them over to full auto and semi-auto. So what they would do is, the chopper would land behind them, and they would cover support fire with an M4 carbine. They would just sit there and dump rounds into the surrounding area, mag change, dump more rounds, and keep going that way. Well, the problem with this is it heated up the barrels, and it caused them to lose their heat treat. And when they went out the next day, there were several cases of them pulling up their rifle to go shoot, and the guns blowing up in their face. And an investigation was launched, and it was a big deal. And come to find out, they figured out the barrels were too thin. So, if you can look under this handguard here, it's a little dirty under there. It's got almost like a bull barrel on the back. It's a very, very thick barrel. And that was kind of whenever the M4A1 was developed. Difference between M4 carbine, just remember this, pretty simple. M4 carbine, 3-round burst, thin barrel. M4A1, full auto, thick barrel. So that was just kind of how the M4A1 came into existence. And then there were some certain other things that played into it, like there were some other things that went on in the story, like the SCAR program. That came in there. They were going to replace the M4A1 with the SCAR 16. And if you ask me, that would not have been a good choice, because the M4A1 is more reliable. The M4A1 is more battle proven. It's lighter. It's just an all-around better rifle than the 16. Now the 17, that's up for debate. That's apples. That's 5.56 apples to 7.62 oranges, as I'd like to say. So, yep, that's the development of the M4 carbine. Now you'll see the other thing that goes with this, and it goes very well with it, is the Recon TA31 ACOG. Now I'll tell you, when I qualified in basic training, I qualified with iron sights first, and I was shooting expert with the iron sights. I was shooting, it wasn't 40 for 40, but it was 36 out of 40, something like that. It was just barely qualifying as expert. And then we were told, well, it doesn't really matter what you get with irons, you have to qualify with the aim point CCO, which is our big fat red dot. So I was like, okay. So they handed me one. And I'll tell you this, I don't know if it was me or the optic. For one thing, the optic was just scratched to pieces. But I barely qualified with that thing. I could not hit anything for the life of me, kind of like today. I could not hit anything for the life of me with that thing. Then I got to my unit, and they're like, here's your rifle. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, whoa! I was looking down range, I was like, that green silhouette down there, he looks like he's standing right next to me. And I got a perfect 40 for 40 on my first qual with the ACOG. And so that was whenever I decided, you know what, I need one of these on my rifle at home. So that's just kind of the setup here. And that's about all I got to say about talking about it. It is a 14.5-inch barrel, like I said, with the pinned and welded flash hider. So it gets bullet velocities of a 62 grain bullet. I think it gets about 2,800 feet per second. 55 grain, you're getting closer to 29, 3,000. We're going to do a video in the future. We'll chronograph them. We'll see what's going on with that. But yeah, that's about all I got for talking right now. I'm going to do some more shooting. I'm going to get all my PPE on here and see if this ammo gives me any more fits. This time we're going to try something a little bit closer. Try some close quarter stuff here. Ooh. Glasses got sweat all over them. We should probably start out with a mag change out of my tactical back pocket here. All right, here we go. And we got no fire. I put a different bolt carrier group in this, and I'm really starting to think that may be the problem. Let's cut it, put a different bolt carrier group in it, and try it again. So let's pull that thing out of there. Let's put this one in there. All right, let's reenact that scenario. Do another mag change and then go to popping again. So I'm firing. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, ran out of ammo. Ah! Them steel mags don't like to come out very well. Yeah, you can't do CQB with an ACOG, people, just so you know. Let's try some clays. I'm gonna try to double tap some of these jugs I've already shot. Let's see here, do some rapid fire. Let me get this thing out a little more. All right, that's about enough close range shooting. that I'm gonna do for today. 5.56 is hard to find nowadays. So, thank you all for watching, and stay tuned, because in the near future, I'm probably gonna be doing an AR-15 versus AK-47 comparison. It's gonna be by the numbers, by the book, scientific, as detailed as I can get into it, and try to make it the ultimate test review on those two. So, thank you for watching.